Look, it's the way I describe it's the biggest game of the year on Wednesday, and we'll get them ready to go. It's our first Wednesday conference game, so I'm looking forward to that actually, and having 2-day prep for both games. But excited. Marshall's good. They got pinched down at ODU, 5-point game, and we just played them. I don't know, 4 days ago or something like that. So very familiar with them, and the way we'll approach it is the biggest game of the year. So our crew knows that. Looking forward to it. Yeah, he does.
Coach, throughout this 5-game win streak, one of the things you mentioned after the last one on Saturday was trying to get this team to start clicking with one another. At this stretch of the year, what's kind of the message of how to get something like that accomplished?
Yeah, not focus too much on it, right? But I think you're just working towards it every day. It's a gradual process, and I think as long as you're striving for it, right, you're going to eventually get there if you're intentional about it. So, for use the Marshall game as an example, right? Not a huge scoring output from Susha or Rowe in this game. So, hopefully we can get some of that back. I wish it worked like, okay, Ashanti had 25 and 10. You can count at least 20 points from her on Wednesday. It just doesn't work like that, right? So continuing to try to build the synergy day-to-day practice-wise. We know a little bit more about how their zones actually are versus what we were seeing on film the first time. So, I think being able to practice, move the ball offensively, and just I think it's just a gradual process. And that's the best I could tell you, right? It's like if you want to be a better rebounding team, you can't snap and be a better rebounding team. It's a gradual, very intentional process of it. So just continuing to understand it's a priority for us. And we got to get better. I really hope our team doesn't – we have not arrived. There's nothing set. We've won some games, cool. But we got a ways to go, and we got to continue to get better. And they'll know that really quickly today at practice.
You mentioned in your opening remarks having, 2 days to prepare for each game. Is that something you like? Do you like the Wednesday, Saturday versus the Thursday, Saturday? How much?
Huge. It's the old CAA. The old CAA, we used to do that. You used to have Thursday, Sunday was what it was. I just think it's an even prep for both games, right? Instead of, it's fine. What we have to do when it's Thursday, Saturday, but man, Thursday night, all day Friday till we finish practice is a grind for everybody, right? Coaches, players, right? And I think for healthy bodies, right? Being able to figure, we'll figure out what we're going to do when it comes time to Thursday. We're going to get back late Wednesday night, but at least you don't have to practice, right? You can do film, you can do a little bit more mental prep than physical. There's so many different options that opens up with the Wednesday, Saturday, and that's what I prefer. And so. I can't remember which game. I think it was this game we requested to be a Wednesday. But you see a lot of people are doing it in the Sun Belt. And so the Sun Belt comes out with a schedule. They don't put any Wednesday games. You can request to move it up. And most teams say yes because almost why wouldn't you in a way?
So is that something you would like to kind of see kind of moving forward? Going Wednesday, Saturday, or even like a Thursday, Sunday situation?
Yeah, I think the schedule, in the CAA, we went to Friday, Sunday because it went to travel partners, and so I don't want to go Marshall Coastal if that's it's not really a travel partner, right? So. I don't mind the down and back single game and then come back here, reset, and then down and back to Coastal, right? So that's my personal preference because the Sun Belt doesn't do travel partners. And if it was travel partners, it'd be different, right? I'd be okay with Thursday, Saturday just because it makes more sense. If you're at Louisiana and you're going to Louisiana Monroe, right, that makes sense. I don't want to come back for that one. But the way it's set up, we can't logistically find a way to do travel partners. So yes, this would be my preference. I think it's a great Wednesday, Saturday is great. You get Sundays off, everybody gets the rest, and you get back 2 days of practice for each game. Ideal.
It was after I think the Marshall game last week where you were basically talking about how we're playing for something greater. We have bigger goals ahead of us. Is that something you think that just with the maturity of this group, where a lot of your girls have been together, where they've won a lot of games, and it's like, okay, yeah, we've won a lot of games. Like, how much of that just is kind of with the maturity and the experience of this group? Like, okay, it's fun to win a lot of games or whatever, but we just kind of what you said. There's something. We have bigger goals in front of us.
We do, and this is the first team I've ever shared as much with, as far as the standings, the Sun Belt tournament, how it's changed, and how important it is to be a 1 or 2 seed, right? So I've never shown the Sun Belt or the CAA conference tournament schedule with a team ever, right? Just before this Georgia Southern game, we pulled up the standings, and I've never done that with a team. But again, they're old enough to know, and what I want them to know is, like, okay, the most difficult part of getting to the top is getting through the crowd at the bottom, right? And there's still a crowd. I believe there's 5 or 6 teams at 4-1, right? So, like, you lose a game, you're right back in the crowd, right? So now the maturity part is that, you don't come out on the floor to play Marshall on Wednesday and, like, thinking about the standings. It's understanding why this is so important and why this game is the biggest game of the year, because you can continue to rise and separate yourself. And we do know what's at stake, and we do have bigger goals. And the last 2 years, I just thought our team slipped both years, right? In games you shouldn't have lost. And it's tough, right? If you look around college basketball, men's or women's right now, it's hard, man. Conference games are hard. You're going on the road. It's a really difficult thing to be consistently at the top, and that's what I want them to understand. So I've overshared with them, and I'm confident they can take the information, not let it distract them, but I just think an informed team of 22-year-olds is an okay thing, right? And I think it helps Angela, right? It's like, what are we doing? Why are we, like, I don't think she, no, you're that. She doesn't know. She doesn't know what this is. You're coming from high school. So I think the maturity of the group understands that. I think when your main leaders really understand the priority, then I think you can come out. And all I'm looking for is your best focus and your best effort each game. And I think that's where people trip up in conference sometimes. It's like, it's just the grind, man. And you lose focus for a second because it's like, we beat Marshall at home. No, man. You have to come out. You're entitled to nothing just because you beat Marshall or just because you're atop of the standings. That gives you nothing. It doesn't give you any points. It doesn't give you a head start. Nothing. So it's that's why I say it's biggest game of the year. I like that mentality. It's like, no, I want all in, everybody all in to find a way to win this game, and then we'll look at the next thing. But it's a mature group, and I do think giving them information is not a negative, right? It's only something they can grow from.
I know Olivia saw game action for the first time in the Marshall game on Thursday late. I know you have a lot of depth in the backcourt already, but is she somebody that you would like to kind of work into the rotation a little bit more now that she's back from injury, or how do you kind of foresee her role moving forward?
Yeah, I tell you what, really unique case. I can't think of another time. I mean, the only thing I can relate it to is like Ashley Perez getting eligible at Christmas time, right? Or I think Claire did that one year. But it's just a really unique thing, right? You're coming back. We've played 16 games or whatever, and it's like you started for us in the past. You're good enough to be in the rotation, but your rhythm is just not there yet, right? And so wasn't able to do anything until last week, and we got her going up and down before Marshall. And I had the conversation with her. Very honestly, it was like, do you want to talk about redshirting? Do you want, right? Because you're halfway through right now, and we do have a rotation, and we do have depth, right? And so she was adamant. She's like, no, I don't want a redshirt. This is my last year. I want to go all in here, whatever you need me to do. And I told her, I said, look, it's not going to be. I'm not throwing you back in for 25 minutes right now. Partly because of your rhythm, but partly because of our rhythm. And she understood. Again, maturity is a really, really valuable thing, and I thought she took it as maturely as you could, in the sense of she's smart, she sees, right, and she sees what we have going on, and she doesn't want to disrupt. She wants to add. So I told her, I said, it's going to get tough. The toughest part is not playing the 2 minutes at the end of the game. The toughest part is answering the questions from whoever, right? Your family or your former teammates or your friends are like, wait, why aren't you playing? What do you mean? That's going to be the toughest part for her, is answering those questions in a positive way. In that, like, no, I'm not ready to come out here and play 25 minutes or do this. But yeah, she's good enough to help us, and having somebody ready, willing, with the perspective of, like, we're here to win a championship and hopefully more, right? And how can I add to that? And I don't want to take away from Zakiya. I don't want to take away from Bree, right? Or whoever. You're pulling minutes from somebody to get her more minutes, and it's tough because I'm struggling to get people enough minutes right now, right? And if you go down our team, Peyton's playing 32 the last 5 games, but like, I bet you if I asked her, she would never want to come out of the game, right? And that, not in a selfish way, just like, no, I want to play. So Jamia wants more, and Ro wants more, and Susha wants more, and it's like, now you're adding somebody that's going to subtract some minutes. It's a dicey one for me. It's going to be a little bit of a puzzle, but we'll figure it out. And Liv's got the right attitude, and that's all she can control, really, right? Is how she approaches it. Good question.
You mentioned Peyton. Talk about her right now, especially during conference play. She's been so efficient.
Mm-hmm.
What are you seeing from her right now, or what's different in her game that's making her so efficient?
I mean, she's on a tear. I mean, those stats. I mean, I pulled it up today. It's like she's shooting 59% from the field, 48 from 3. Good gracious. She needs to rebound more. She only got 6 a game, though, Dave. No, she's just, for no better analogy, just letting it fly and just playing, not thinking, not overthinking anything. And I'm okay with that. And it's, she's got to charge in both games, but it's okay with me. That means you're being aggressive. That means you're trying to, you're just playing. You're not overthinking. I think she's got such a brilliant mind. I think that's can get in her way sometimes, and has early in the season sometimes. But that's who she is, right? She's always been a very, very natural scorer, and I really just think she's letting go right now and just playing. And I tell you what, the other part that's important to understand is, like, she's not doing it all solo, right? People are finding her really well. And I think our last 3 games, I think we're sharing the ball much better. And Rose found her a couple times. Susha passing out of the post a couple times, and Zakiya's been feeding her all year long in transition. So you got to understand how talented she is, and our team does. And I think I don't ever really assign roles. I think that can be limiting. I think people settle into that, and I think they've understood who she is and how talented she can be if you feed her the right way. But yeah, she's just as silly as that sounds, David. She's just playing. It's simple. It's not overthinking, and I'm just playing. And it's not going to last forever, right? But hope it does. It's just, there's such ebbs and flows with the season. That's what I keep trying to tell our team is, like, she's on a tear right now. But now, if I'm, Julie, do I pull this up and say, like, there's no way we can let Peyton McDaniel get going? All right, now who benefits from that, right? Is it Ro? Is it Shanti? Is it Susha? Is it Z? Is it Ro? Anybody? So I think there's always that in the season. There's always an ebb and flow, and so that's why it's a team, right? It's not tennis.
You've mentioned maturity a couple times today also, and have you seen that in games, especially here in the Sun Belt play? Again, you're down 12-0 to Troy. You don't call a timeout because you trust your team with that maturity. You're down to Louisiana. Even in games you're winning, you get up big and the team makes a run, but they eventually stop that run and get settled back down. Yeah. Is that part of the maturity that you're seeing from your team in games?
I believe so, and it reminds me a little bit of Coop's team, Coop and Lex and Smalls, because they knew when to turn it up, and they knew when. I know they were on cruise control sometimes, and that's okay, but they knew when to turn it up. And I think this team is slowly proving that to me. And I heard, I believe it was Mark Pope saying he got some advice early in his coaching career, and it just hit me, and it was soon after the Troy game, because when I look back at that, I was like, why didn't I call a timeout, right? Like, we might have needed it at the time. And he said it. The quote is something like, "Don't coach the game based on the scoreboard if you're a coach till a certain point." and watch the flow of the game. Right, as a coach, what is the flow of the game? Are we getting good shots? Are they getting good shots? Like, what is the problem? Now, if your team lacks effort, man, I'll call a timeout in a heartbeat. But I think sometimes there's scoring droughts in a game, and if you're getting the right shots and you're just not finishing, what's a timeout do, right? But I just thought. That's what this team is becoming and showing, is that they can deal with some stuff, and part of that is, I think we're like battle tested too, right? And I think you can like pull on some of those experiences to calm you down, right? Or, hey, all right, we need to really get the ball inside right here. Like, let's get a good one, or And I think that's the maturity, that's the leadership of older minds, right? And Jamia and Peyton, who've done this for 5 years. I can't believe Peyton's got another year. But like, right? I think they all know. And what has really been great for us is our defense has been really good. Now, I know first quarters, right, that some people come out and they're hot, and that's okay, but we've done a really good job of putting the clamps down when it's time to put the clamps down, and that's got to be our backbone, and it will be. And again, I'm shouting out Coach Razor because she turned that up for us really well, and we couldn't be where we are without her on the defensive end. That's a fact.
The men do it twice this week with opponents they played last week. You play Marshall after playing them last week. What are the challenges of playing a team, win or lose, the next week?
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever done it. I don't know. I can't recall ever doing it this close. I can't ever recall like 6 days between games. So the challenges for this one is similar to, I think, anytime you beat a team at home, you got to go back to their place. They're going to play better, right? You're now at their place. I think your team can assume things, right? Like, oh, we got this. No, we don't. Like, you got to earn it again. You get no points for beating them here. And so I just think that's it. I think the familiarity is good. And, when we're breaking down the film, I don't have to remind myself, oh, yeah, they did do that, right? I know exactly what they did to us because it's just fresh in my mind. I think it'll be fresh in our players' minds. The challenges I don't yet know. I just think it's the biggest challenge for this is understanding, like, you look, right, and we'll show them the standings. They're 0-5. Oh, my gosh, they're in last place where should be a breeze. No, it's not a breeze. And I think they'll respect them enough to really embrace that part, because they are good. They're not far off. Every one of their games, they're close, man. They're battling, and even last night, it's a 5-point game at OU. That's hard to do. So I just think, I don't know the exact challenges of the frequency of the games, but I know we'll have challenges, and you always do, right? You never know what it's going to be, but we'll have some challenge, that's for sure.
How much do you think that you'll learn from watching the Old Dominion Marshall game? Any tweaks or subtleties that Marshall might show to you on Wednesday that you didn't see last Thursday?
Yeah, I watched it last night, and there's a couple, but it's hard for me to put a game higher than our game, right? Because it's great whatever they did, ODU, right? Whatever matchups, whatever their game plan was. I just think you've got what their game plan was against us, 5 days ago, and I think that's the most valuable film. But of course, right? There's only one game to watch, which is crazy, and so we'll look at it. But it's more of like, okay, we ran this play against their zone. How did it do? How efficient was it? Did we get good shots? Did we not? That film will be more valuable than the ODU one for me.
Film is very valuable, as you mentioned, and as we've got so many more cameras on these games, you can see so many other things that are happening off the court even. Mm-hmm. And Coach Spradlin mentioned last week about coaching his bench. Can you share with us what your philosophy has been about coaching your bench and how that became a part incorporated into your coaching system?
Good question, Kurt. It is, the bench is vital, right? And if Coach Langford was here, she'd laugh. But I have a thing with players, and if there's anybody in recruiting or at JMU that sits on the bench like you're sitting right now with your legs crossed, it's a no-go for me in recruiting. And it's okay, Kurt. It's okay. It's funny. Just last game, Angela, who doesn't know, right, was sitting there. Now her ankles were crossed, not her knees. But I went over to her and I whispered to her. I said, "Hey, I have a thing with that. I have a weird thing with that. Please don't cross your legs." And she said, "Okay, I'm sorry. But like it doesn't show me, like, to me it's a basketball game, right? This is intense. We should be sitting like Dave is sitting right now, right? Elbows on your knees, ready to go. I'm in the game. I'll be ready. Coach, you got me? Yeah, I'm in. It's sprinting in. So that's one of my things. And Coach Langford brought me a player, and we were sitting there watching her in AAU, and she sat on the bench, crossed her legs. I was like, I'm out. And she was like, come on, really? I'm like, nah, I'm out, man. It's just, that's for me. So that's one little tidbit. But no, the bench in general, right? Like it's hard. It's hard to stay engaged, and you have to be engaged because, especially on the road now too, we're all we got here. So no, there needs to be engagement. There needs to be celebration. There needs to be, you're on the edge of your seat type of mentality, and even if you're not going in. Right, and Laura and Alana, which don't get in much, they got to be engaged. I think it can be a positive. It can also be a negative. And we haven't had much of that this year. We had to watch a little bit more last year. We had some worse body language on the bench last year. But now when I get the film after the game, they have it cut up offensive, defensive clips. I still don't watch the clips. I want to watch the whole game because I think there's so much more to it than just the clips. And a lot of that is body language reactions. Hey, when like there was a moment I took Sushi out, I think third quarter, and she was headed to the bench. She's like, no, go give Anna 5 first, then you come down to the bench. And that's like a meaningful thing, right? It's like, hey, go get him, Anna, right? And now you can boost Anna. So I think it's just a boost opportunity to have good bench engagement.
I think it's probably different too between the men's game and the women's game because when you go to a banquet. When we were in the CAA, you go to a women's banquet, that atmosphere is totally different than a men's atmosphere.
True.
Too cool on the men's side to do some of that stuff. But anyway, where we are in the grind of the season, too, I want to ask you a question about how you and your other coaches carve out time for yourself at this time of year when, it's 24/7.
Yeah, I'll only answer that for me. I'm sure they do something, too, and they better. But whatever fills your cup, right? And I was lucky enough, my daughter's playing basketball, and thank God, but their tournament this weekend was at URIC on Saturday. So I'm like, okay, it's not at Turner Ashby or something where I got to drive 15 minutes, but that's what gets me. And I was lucky enough, she played a game of 7 on Saturday night. So we finished the game, I changed, and I went to her game, and it was like, that's all I need, right? And I think, for me personally, it's a grind and it's okay. And I think, we're sitting at the game and one of our kind of family friends asked me, "Oh, you off tomorrow?" And my wife just started laughing like, "Oh yeah, he's off. I'm sure he won't do anything basketball-wise tomorrow." But that I feel better when I'm prepared, right? So breaking down our game from Georgia Southern, right? Watching ODU Marshall game, watching our game against Marshall, that fills my cup when you can do it in a real relaxed manner, sitting on your couch or whatever, because it now opens up time today to meet with Peyton and Susha and Roe, whoever, right? And if I'm now breaking down the Georgia Southern game, now I lose that opportunity to talk to them. So like those days help me. Now you're sitting around and we get to watch football and I get to take my daughter to Target and stuff like that. So, but like that's what it is. I think the assistants, whatever you got to do it, man. You got whatever it is that fills your cup, you got to do it. And the Sundays is a huge benefit comparatively to CAA because, Mondays were your off days, but you're coming in here, you're doing press conference, you're doing film. There's kids got classes and stuff like that. So the Sunday's the huge benefit to that.
There's been some chatter among us here last couple of days about the scheduling with men and playing on the same day the women. Just your thoughts on that, and can you provide any insight as to how that arrangement comes about in the Sun Belt? Because it is different from the CAA, and fans have expressed their disappointment. They can't watch all the games.
Yeah, sure. It's interesting because, it is a first time for me. And the Sun Belt's very different than the CAA in a lot of ways, right? The conference tournament, having two men and the women at the same time is a huge one. But, no, No, I miss it too. Like I mean, I was unable to watch the men's game, right? But man, I remember I've watched. I was a manager for the men's team. I like watching their games. I like knowing what's going on. So that part is a little disappointing, but it's okay. I think it's just I'm the type of person. It's like, what are the we're playing Monopoly. What are the rules? Okay, let's play. So now we can talk about it over summer meetings and stuff like that. I thought one of the things that I really liked this year, I don't love doubleheaders. And we had 4 last year, and we have 0 this year. And that to me is like, well done. Now, again, it does there's sometimes I really do wish I had, even the men play 4, we play at 2. I could watch a little bit of that, something like that. But it's just how it's drawn up, and it's okay with me. But yeah, it'd be great. It'd be great to stagger it a little bit, but I'm okay. The Wednesday, Saturday would be ideal for me, and I don't know how Preston feels, but that'd be ideal for me. And I'll take a little bit of missing the men's game for that schedule, I guess, would be my real answer to it.